excited to talk to you all about this. The first taste of this came at South by, so I have to ask the director, how was that first taste for you?
It's kind of like standing on top of a mountain and thinking to yourself, oh boy, I still have a long way to go. Back down, right? So you kind of get there and the moment's totally exciting. But then you're on to the sort of the next thing, It's like, what happens next? I know that it seems like, I don't know. It seems like there's no real end. It just continues to be processed.
Right.
What comes next after this? But it was a really joyful screening, and I couldn't have asked for a better crowd. It was really awesome.
Well, and you got to have some clowns running around on the streets too, and having some fun there too. So, I do want to ask the cast here, what's it like being on a set when you just see a random clown, walk across your path?
I feel like that's when I know that I've
You made it?
Yeah, I'm in the right place.
More random clowns. We had clowns. We had Clown Car Catering, which is an interesting company out of Winnipeg, Canada, and that was cool. Just as soon as you figure, there's no way they're going to be able to feed this many people. What do you know? More clowns. They got burgers and grilled vegetables and that sort of thing. Yeah. That was fun.
Will, we'll start on that side. Tell us a little bit about the sheriff, because he seems like somebody who's very stalwart. Is that a word that people use for a person like that, maybe?
If that means son of a bitch.
Yeah, you like that?
That's great.
Well, you know what? I pulled that off the day calendar, and so that's the word I'm going to use.
Word of the day. He's nothing short of a salty prick, for real. And that was easy for me to channel. And it was a lot of, it was a lot of fun. Anytime you get to wear, a cowboy hat and affect a bit of a southern drawl, that's a lot of fun. And then the bonus, of course, is, shoving Katie and the rest of the kids around with hurting them with the butt of your gun.
Right.
He's a real
piece of work.
Yeah, piece of work is a
yeah. Well, you start off when you get older get those kids off my lawn, but violence can happen very closely to that step as well, I guess, too. So he just pushes kids around and whatnot too. So that's fun.
As any good small town sheriff should.
Katie, I do absolutely love your character. You're new to town. You're kind of dealing with everyone trying to be cool as you do when you come into town. That whole comes to the door, she's unknown, what's going to happen kind of thing. So how does she kind of foray into this new world of this very, very small town?
Yeah, I think it's kind of that classic tale, like you go to this new town to try to get a fresh start, and I think her and her dad find themselves in a town that's in like the throes of a rather tempestuous generational divide, and that becomes very apparent very quickly, and she, going into it thinking she's getting a fresh start, has to kind of be put on the spot and thrown into the most absurd possible reality. And for me personally, I always think it's really funny when you have just like the most normal character be put in the most absurd situation. So I really wanted her to feel really normal and just a little bit shy and just kind of awkward and like you're like a sibling or something, but and then have to take a full 180 and go full action figure.
As you should, yeah.
One of her lines in the trailer, right, is there's a psycho dressed like Friendo trying to kill us.
Yeah.
A psycho clown, and it is like this absurdism. I mean, it's based on something real, but it is so absurd to have this clown chasing them through the corn in the middle of the night, and them kind of confronting how odd this is. Like, why are we going through this experience? Why are they doing this?
That's inherent, I guess.
Well, and that's the same too. Like you're so out of the loop on so many things too. And I got to bring it back to the trailer as well. Was there anything else you wanted to do with the age divide besides the telephone? Did you actually know how to use a rotary dial, or was that like did you play it cool? Like I know, or did you like go off and get like a YouTube video? Like okay.
It's funny when I said because I think that I would, but then when actually faced with it, I realized like no, it's more than what I thought. Like, I'm not that young, yeah. But
you're pretty young.
I definitely need to watch a YouTube tutorial at least a little bit.
on how to do it. Yeah, well, you just be glad they didn't try to throw in like an 8-track at you or something else to try to get a specific song to play or something.
No, it's the fun.
Well, there are no spoilers, but there's several other generational issues that go on in the film that kind of inhibit her progress or getaway as a character.
Right.
So it's constantly trying to show that like generation gap, but also that the old folks aren't really getting a lot of things the young guys are doing too.
Yeah.
So
And so we go to the father and the doctor too, coming to be, it's interesting when you find someone who wants to be a doctor in a small town, because it's always like, what's that mindset? Like, do you want to live a Hallmark movie? Like, what's the goal here too? So, we know he's bringing her with him, and they don't have a mom somewhere in the big picture.
Yes, they're sort of bit like he's looking for a new start.
Yeah.
That's why I think they're coming to this new town. He's looking for a new start with a relationship with his daughter, and he's looking for a new start. I think they're grieving their mother or his wife, and so that's what moving to this new town is. And it's like, this is gonna be great. It's actually not. It's a spoiler, but it actually goes very badly.
Well, that's the problem is, as someone who has to bring a child to like a really small town where you're making everything, you have to be extremely like positive. Like, do you have that in you, or is that something you had to really act into? Are you usually a positive person?
I mean, I'm making a movie in the cloud. Like,
you know what? The car broke down in the middle of the 405, but it's good. We're gonna be. It's
but like,
okay.
if you're talking about how to channel a thing, I mean, if you're living a dream, I'm doing like I've seen hundreds of slasher movies. This was a dream to do a movie called Clown in a Cornfield.
Yeah.
Right.
So it wasn't that hard for me to pretend to be an optimistic dude, because optimism was happening all around me all the
Right.
time. Especially one with like practical effects and like such a throwback sort of feel to it.
and then he got there and he realized, wait a minute,
No.
you guys have no money. This is
No.
impossible. How are we going to do this?
Paid in corn. Well, actually, speaking of that, I think I heard from you a little bit too that one of your biggest villains on the set was the corn itself and keeping it in frame, because it kept wanting to kind of leave your shots, right? Because
Oh, yeah. It was harvest season. And so they kept cutting down the corn as we were shooting. And so we'd end up going back the next day and we'd have less and less and less. Fortunately, we had gotten our like wide overhead shots already. But by the end of the shoot, we were shooting some pickup shots on stage with like these remaining stalks of corn just placed camera low, trying to get the final shots we needed. So yeah, we were always battling with our farmer that we bought the corn from. Like, please don't cut the corn down. We need it. You didn't pay enough for this. And also, corn. I don't know if you know this, but it actually grows in mud. And so you think that it might be like a nice little floor, but no, it's like you're running in mud this thick, and it gathers onto your boots, and then you're slipping, and she's covered in dirt and soiled up. She actually loved it every second of it, right?
well, that's great. Well, then apparently every corn maze I've been to has lied to me, because usually they're dry by that point. But maybe it's just like I'm getting the right time or the wrong time. I don't know how that works out either.
I mean, a corn maze is not a naturally. It's already lying to you.
It doesn't just happen that way.
Yeah, yeah. It's a bit of fabrication to begin with. I'm sorry to tell you.
I do want to ask about this small town as well. So what was the idea of creating this small town? Because you can make small towns in many different ways, especially when there's corn surrounding it. It can be, small town USA in many ways. What is it you wanted to kind of impart as people kind of saw this town?
It's small town America, but in a way that's kind of lost its mojo and is trying to hang on. And it's a part of America that I actually kind of love, but it also maybe has moved past its prime and is trying to hang on to something that was really tightly and trying to force it to still be that way, even though it's not anymore.
Right.
And so that's kind of the conflict between the generations, And I think the younger generation in these smaller towns, because everybody's online now, they're not unsophisticated. They are as with it as anybody else, anywhere else in the world. And so but the older folk kind of maybe are a little more angry about how things are going.
So, clowns are one of those things that people, they get a fear of, and it just kind of stays with them. So I want to ask you all, is there something that, as a kid, scared you and it still stayed with you? Like, I've talked to people and they'd be like, Gremlins, or, in this episode of Punky Brewster, or like different stuff. So is there anything specific you remember? Bambi was one. When Bambi's mom died, it stayed with Aaron Paul. He told me that it still hurts me. It still haunts me to this day. So is there anything you remember that still scares you and still kind of stays with you?
It's always the lo-fi thing that gets me, right? It's the lowest, so the one that got me from the earliest age, and I just remember, I must have been like 4, but I vividly remember the Body Snatchers. And the Body Snatchers is this old movie, but the
Sutherland one or the before Sutherland?
With Sutherland.
Yeah.
And they did this, they pointed at you, and then they did this inhale, which was like, and they took your soul. But they looked up, and they would suck your soul out. And it terrified me. To this day, I could think of seeing it for the first time where somebody could just point at you and inhale like that and suck your soul.
So if asthmatic just happens to point at you, you're just done.
I run. If I hear an asthmatic, I'm like duck and cover.
How about you, Will?
Well, I mean, I think everyone around my age, we all, and I can look in your eyes and know that you have felt it and that you have felt it. The Artax in quicksand scene from Never Ending Story.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's so much of a fear.
Quicksand.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about mud.
It's not as much quicksand as we thought as kids. That's a John Mulaney joke, right? It's like you assume quicksand is everywhere when you're a kid.
Yeah, that was a big fake out. Speaking to that specifically, because it's like, in a way, the filmmakers of that movie, they were like, well, this is something that most kids won't run into this problem, losing an adorable white horse in quicksand. Probably never happened to any of you guys. And yet, it's traumatized a generation.
Do you remember, in a similar vein, I remember going to the theater and seeing Return to Oz?
Oh, yeah,
Wheelies?
Farouza Balk.
The wheelies?
Oh, yeah.
Like, that whole movie's a nightmare. And you're like, why are you doing this? Like, it's Oz. It's a sequel to Wizard of Oz.
Well, and that's the thing.
So scary.
I don't know what we missed along the way. We got to all this animated stuff, but 80s cartoons were like half fright you, half enjoy. Like all the movies were always something.
You mean puppetry?
Gremlins, Dark Crystal, puppetry. Yeah, there's.
No, I disagree. I think they should bring puppetry back.
Have they? Okay, that's good too. I'm all about that. By the way, as a separate note for anyone out there, Flower Child was what he yelled when he was trying to name the girl, the princess as well too.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I never knew that.
Yeah, because he always yelled it, and you could never hear it because of the crashing or whatever else.
Oh, wow.
But someone finally watched the live version, and they watched the captions, and it says Flower Child. I'm gonna name her what Mom's name was or whatever, and it was Flower
All
Child.
you had to do was turn the caption.
All the captions on, you would have found out. Easy as that too. So what was yours? What was
I said the wheel. I mean, puppets is also. There was a Canadian show. I don't know if you remember like the Friendly Giant.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't like that giraffe. I didn't like anything that you could hear the cloth flap.
Yeah.
Of the mouth. I don't like that at all. Chicken in a bag. Chicken in a bag. There's a lot of Canadian kids TV that is especially haunting.
I don't know what it is. I like
The cloth flap was terrifying.
It's like, well, yeah, it's not natural. It feels very. There's something about the coarseness of the cheapness of those Canadian kid shows.
I could have gotten to you way easier than I did, huh?
Yeah.
You know what? That's why you have to segment different edits for different parts of the world. So the Canadian one's all puppetry and cloth, and then Brazil is like hardcore knives and blood.
Friendly
Right?
Giant.
Yeah.
Brazil's tough to get to. It takes a lot to scare Brazilians.
How about the Manhunter was most of the movie I saw way too young, and that first shot of it just being a flashlight breaking into a house, heading up the stairs very quietly, and just shining it on a couple sleeping until they slowly woke up, freaked me out. I did not like that. I didn't know that happened. Like I didn't know I'd seen Jason and stuff like that, but I didn't know what a serial killer was. And so the fact that there was real world, they could just break in my house and kill a family just cause I didn't like that.
Time to lock the doors. How about you?
Well, I mean, it kind of sounded like you were talking about Uncanny Valley a little bit, and I have a little bit of that. But I just remember as a child being like very, very aware that nature wants me dead, and like the ocean really scared me. I remember, and even like being up in the mountains really scared me.
The unknowingness of the ocean, or the size of it, or
I think all of it. Just like the
What's in it,
all-consuming
maybe?
nature of if bears, nature. And then I also remember like a couple instances of walking home from school and being really, really freaked out by like weirdos and like being very aware of true crime and like from a very young age. So I've always been very afraid of people.
Right. Well, I think I was talking to Catherine Hahn at South by about they were in the movie called The Studio, and I said, well, now you see these kind of people, you were doing a meta thing. It's just like people who watch murder shows. Now, when you watch it, you assume every guy you're dating is like a serial killer trying to kill you, or this person's going to be bad too. So horror movies too. But I guess as a director and a writer too, that kind of helps you lend to those things, like what's around the corner.
It's interesting though, because I used to teach these Outward Bound courses, right? And I take kids into the wild and 25-day excursions.
They come back though, right?
They'd all come back.
Okay.
Well, usually. But they were terrified of the woods. Like they had all these incarnations of being in the dark and somebody was coming for them. And that's sort of where Tucker and Dale came from. Tucker and Dale versus Evil was this reversal of, like I said, if you meet somebody out here, they're going to be the nicest people ever. They'll just want to like help you out and drink some coffee with you.
Right.
So Tucker and Dale was kind of the reversal of the fear you're talking about, where everybody, and then when you're so fearful of everything, I think you project that fear onto the world.
Right.
And sometimes those things come at you when you expect them to. Not saying it's your problem.
you're getting killed.
The weirdos aren't your fault.
You're getting killed by a bear.
The weirdos are not your fault, Katie. But the fear part, maybe don't stress too much.
No, you're right.
Well, I
don't know. Keep your guard all the way up. Let's go.
Without giving it away, I did enjoy the fact that all you had your own versions of action in this as well too. So, what is it like when you get to pick up a shotgun, or you get to like drive a car, do some crazy stuff with people, or try to essentially kill the bad guy who's trying to kill you too? Like, what's it like as an actor where you get to try to turn that around and you're like, this is how I would feel now. This is my anger. Now it gets a release.
I like that question because I feel like that's when I'm acting, when I kind of feel like, oh, this actually is kind of therapeutic. Like that's my favorite part of acting, is getting to hit stuff and scream. And it's really hard for me to hear that I have to turn it over to the stunt double because I've learned that I really like doing stunts.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that is, but I think it feels therapeutic.
Also, I don't know if we did turn much over to the stunt double. Maybe a couple.
I have to credit her because she definitely
did something.
Yeah.
Well, but also like you take an actor and just like the way you're behaving is so different than the stunt double often. Yeah. And you carry the personality of the character with you. And sometimes when you hand something over to the stunt double, it just doesn't read entirely like the actor.
Right.
So whenever the actor can do the stunt, you don't have to do it with some Tom Cruise shit, but
well, I think you guys did an amazing job with it. It's just so much fun. And for anyone who hates clowns, which I do know some people, it's funny you kind of meet those people.
Not you though, right?
I don't. No.
Sure.
I'm someone who's scared of like evil children because I'm always afraid that I'm going to kill the evil child trying to kill me, and then I try to prove that he was evil. Who's going to believe me? That little kid over there?
You're more afraid of the impending lawsuit.
Exactly.
And legal problem.
That's my problem. Yes, because who's going to believe that cute little kid was killing everybody?
I know that's weird.
What did you do?
I have that dream all the time where I'm just trying to figure out what to do with the body.
Anxiety.
Well, and that's where we get meta because now you can just use it in the movie, and I guess just burn it afterwards, right? We're done with it, so it's fine.
I wake up and I start writing right away.
And that's something that we kind of deal with too. We deal with meta death in this movie too, right? Because there's like a lot of non-disbelief because these kids essentially are making their own horror YouTube videos too, which kind of lends to the disbelief of a killer out there.
Perfect cover-up.
Yeah, perfect cover-up too. All right, well, we're gonna go through a couple of things here. First and foremost, are you guys ready to show what you've done? Will, are you done?
Why not? Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Well, let's start on this side. Can you tell us a little about what you've done and why? Because I think that's great too. Yeah.
I tried to encapsulate clowns in general, which are that they appear to be happy, smiley, creepy, but there's something off about their entire thing. They have a secret. They've come from somewhere. Whatever their backstory is, it's not a good one. I don't know how they came to be a clown, but it's not nice. And then there's usually something pretty blatant up top that's telling you to get away.
When will we learn? How about yours?
This is Eric.
Great.
Oh, wow.
And he has
Eric
no
has some personality.
No thoughts.
Eric, no thoughts.
Eric, not us.
That's who he dreams about, with a flashlight looking at him when he's sleeping.
That's the end of that story.
I like how beat up his hat looks. Did the marker run out of ink? Is that what happened there?
Yeah.
He's creative.
That's amazing.
Are those
That's
scars on his face? Like, there's a lot happening here.
Yeah, he's tired.
He's tired. And but he's trying to touch a butterfly?
Yeah, he still loves nature
A lot of
and
great
classical music.
He is one Zen cat. This Eric.
And how about yours? Yours seems action-packed in his own way.
Well, yeah, he's having a hard day.
Oh, right in the
I don't know what his name is,
Right
but
there.
my clown is juggling fireballs while exploding blood out of his armpits.
Yeah.
He's a little.
Man,
I might be
been
some
there.
inner feelings right there, but he's handling it. He's very composed.
He's still performing. Show must go on for that guy. Good for him.
He doesn't
that's
know
a pro.
what's next,
That's a
but he's
pro.
very composed.
And then Will, what do we got?
This is one of the clown caterers I told you about.
Oh, that's great.
Got a bucket of fish and some
That's
sausage.
incredible.
Oh, it's so good.
And his name may or may not be Eric. Eric had a big influence while we made the movie.
Well, very cool. I'm so excited for all this. I do have one last thing here, and I'm gonna ask.
I've seen it on
Will,
the list. I've been eyeballing it from right
Will,
here. Excited about it.
In the trailer, we don't get to hear Frendo's voice. So, is there any impersonations or voices he might be behind? If you put this in front of your face, that it might be there. Would Jesse Ventura, by chance, be behind the mask, or different people? I'm throwing it out there way too easy, way too much. But is that something you'd be interested in doing or not? I'm just throwing it out. I'm just trying to make it dumb and
I don't
fun.
think Jesse Ventura is friend.
Or I don't know. Well, you're so good with voices, so I was like, who could be behind that mask? Because we don't hear his
I
voice.
think people should listen closely to what's happening in the movie. When there are characters.
I was pushing too much. I'm sorry for
whose
that.
faces don't move. And I think you'll find some interesting celebrity cameos. And you can go ahead and pick those and then fill out the survey on Instagram.
Down below.
And you'll find
It's posted tonight.
a plethora of ex-politicians like Jesse Ventura,
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, the other guy, a bunch of them, Obama.
A bunch of those people too. Other wrestlers as well. Yes, I'm looking forward to that. Well, I want to thank you all for coming to Color with us.
Cheers.
And more importantly, I'm glad you're all here. When it comes to comic conventions, these are people who dress up, who live the life, and they don't apologize for loving what they love. And there's something kind of beautiful about that. So there's a lot of fun to that, especially with horror fans too. Horror fans are on the ride. They're like country people. They find their artists and they'll stick along with you forever. Like they're along for every honky tonk you go to. So I thank you all for coming down. I thank you all for coloring with us. So
Cheers.
pleasure. Have a great time.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.